big Ottawa welcome for one of our newcomers here at the stage. Give him a nice big round of applause. Mr. All the way from Carleton Place, took him an hour and a half, so please give it up for Mr. Ken Strangway. Let's hear it for him.
Wow, can't believe I'm up here. It's been a lifelong dream of mine, really, to be an unpaid amateur comedian. Dreams do come true, because here I am, an unpaid amateur comedian. You notice the job you thought you'd have when you were young never ends up that way. When I was young, I thought I'd either be a hot air balloon pilot or a nut model. Now, it might not be much to look at, but my balls are spectacular. Needless to say, I'm not doing either job now. Not professionally, anyway. Any single girls in the audience? Any at all? Not, eh? I like my women with a little bit of cushion, you know? A little bit of meat on their bones. I like to know there's a woman there. Like, I watch The Biggest Loser for the hot chicks. I've literally slept with tons of women. Thanks. I was in Houston a few years ago. Anybody here ever been to Houston? No? That's a fat town. I picked up a couple of queen-size honeys there. Oh yeah, guy like me in Houston, I'm like a supermodel. They look at me and they go, ooh, look at that slightly obese piece of man meat. I bet you he's only got mild sleep apnea and borderline diabetes. They gotta get me a piece of that. I don't mean to brag, they did. Oh yeah. I racked up a quarter ton in one hot, sweaty, sexually awkward weekend. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Ken, and I'm half gypsy and half circus folk. I actually spent the first part of my life in the circus, where I got my first job guessing people's weight. They'd have to lie down on top of me to get an accurate measurement. That could be where I got my fetish for large women. But I completely screwed that up. But anyway. Living in the circus, it's a busy life, but we did have time for the family vacation. I remember one year, I was about 6, my brother was about 4, we decided to go to Florida. Back to the truck. That's a bright idea, put a 4- and a 6-year-old in the back of a pickup truck and head to Florida in the dead of winter. We did have a cab and a spare tire to sit on, but it still did suck balls big time. My parents decided it'd be a little quicker for them if we bought them some toys. So you got a cops and robber set. Came with a badge, and handcuffs, a couple of really sharp metal guns. Yeah, you know this way this goes. About 4 seconds into it. Bang, you're dead. No, bang, you're dead. No, bang, I got a sliced head. I'm covered in blood. So a couple of punches later and some crying. Back to sitting on the tire. Here, if you push on the nozzle thing, it's a little. So, making up a little song, spraying my brother in the face. Before you know it, tire's flat. So, game over, and no place to sit down. So I dared my brother to stick his head in a little hole. And somehow he got most of the way in there. Couldn't get it back out. Pretty much right at that minute, bam, flat tire. That pulls over, opens up the back. There I am, covered head to toe in blood. My brother with his head stuck in a flat spare tire. That was day 1. As you can probably guess, circus folk don't raise A+ students. I had a report I had to do in school. Actually, I have it right here. I'll read it to you. Homo erectus by Ken Strangway. Life was hard for Homo erectus, and we owe him a lot. They were always putting things into their mouth to see if it was edible or not. It wasn't uncommon to find Homo erectus with a mouthful of nuts or face down in woolly mammoth pie. There is evidence they created a primitive bratwurst and were considered quite the sausage lovers. When Homo erectus wasn't shoving things into their mouth hole, they passed the time polishing their clubs. Believe it or not, I got a D- for this. Because the teacher couldn't prove it didn't happen, so she had to give me a passing grade. One screwed up family is probably the Motts. You know, the Clamato people? Hey, what was that guy thinking? Drinking his fresh squeezed clam juice one morning, thinking, this could use tomato. I don't know how he did it, but he did. I got married a couple of years ago.
They shouldn't do that.
Yeah, me. Don't stop, it might not let me back good. And I noticed that, like, the internet sites I used to look at, completely different than the ones I do now. Like, it used to be like donkey loving, little people, big orgasms, queen-size pudding fights. Now I'm looking at stuff like IKEA.ca, Better Homes and Gardens. Man, where did my balls go? They used to be spectacular. That's the time I got. Thank you, and have a good night.